Welcome back to the Voice of Business podcast. We're here at Bennett's Furniture and Mattresses. Big thanks to them for hosting us here today, and to Phil Joliker, the marketing guy, for helping us shoot and produce this. We've got Susan Zambonin. You're the CEO of Habitat for Humanity, Peterborough and Kawarthas. You've been with them for what, about 20 years now?
Habitat in general, yes.
Okay.
Between 3 affiliates, yes.
All right. So you've
Yeah.
got a fair bit of experience working in that sector. Well, tell us a little bit about what Habitat does and what kind of priorities you have.
Well, as you know, Habitat for Humanity builds homes. Our goal is to build as many affordable homes as we can for families. A little history of Habitat. It started in 1976 by Millard and Linda Fuller, but you would know our most famous volunteer, the former President Jimmy Carter, who passed away
right.
in December.
Yeah.
So lots of people think that he started Habitat. He didn't, but he is our most famous volunteer.
Yeah.
So our mission is to build strength, stability, and self-reliance through affordable home ownership, because we think that owning a home is the difference. It builds equity. And wealth for families, and that makes a life-changing difference for them.
Yeah, you know, often when we talk about affordable housing, we talk about you know, different types of rental units and rent geared income and that kind of thing. And what you do is very different from that.
It is different. So, yes, everybody needs an affordable place to live. Like, definitely. What we provide is, as you say, something a little different. It's home ownership, which helps them to build wealth. And so we think that that is really life-changing for the families that we serve.
Absolutely. And, you know, affordable access to housing has been a hot topic
Definitely.
over the last number of years. And
Yeah.
as we've seen house prices rise to incredible amounts. Yeah. And how is Habitat adapted with such changes in our local housing market?
Yeah, so it's hard, right? It's not easy to build. It's not easy to build. It's not getting any cheaper, but we still have to do it. And the way we have changed things, we used to do single-family homes, and that was great, except that it's not affordable anymore. Land prices are like $300,000 for a single-family lot, and then you have to build on top of it. Well, that's not sustainable. So what we've done is we've moved to multi-unit residential projects, like our project on Leahy's Lane. With the 2 phases, it's 53 units. By doing that, we're able to buy a piece of land for, you know, $1.2, $1.5 million and make the land portion affordable. It's just bigger numbers, right? It's the cash flow to build them.
Yeah, and you know, Habitat doesn't do this work in isolation. You do a lot of partnerships in the community.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you work with our local business community to help build these houses?
Yeah, so we've been very fortunate to have partners that, you know, understand the importance of home ownership and housing, especially when, you know, their staff don't have a place to live or can't purchase something. So they take their social responsibility really seriously, and housing's important to them, which is great. The ways some of them help us, you know, Bennett's has been a supporter for a number of years, right? And other businesses will donate items, end of line items and things like that. Or if they're buying new furniture, office furniture, they'll donate items to our restores that we can then sell. Yeah. But we also have trades and suppliers that help us out to get materials at reduced price, which everything helps us.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, Habitat's also heavily involved in advocacy.
Yes.
And there's a lot to advocate for when it comes to housing these days. What are some key things that you're pushing for right now?
So, you know, we want red tape cut.
Yep.
We want, you know, prices cut. But what we've been advocating for a number of years now, that we're finally getting some traction on, is getting the HST removed on the sale of houses that we build. Yeah. So just to give you an example, the projects that we did on Leahy's Lane, the 53 units, it cost us $1.3 million in HST to build those.
You have to fundraise to...
Yeah, so exactly. Like, it's true, our homeowners are the ones that have to pay this.
I see, yeah.
But they don't have the $25,000
Yeah.
to pay when we sell the home to them.
Yeah.
So we have to pay that up front, and we add it onto their mortgage that they'll eventually pay in 25 or 30 years. But if we had that money now, we'd be able to move on to the next project.
Yeah.
And so we're finally starting to see some traction. The Liberals and the Conservatives have both said that they will remove the GST, and we've had conversations with the Ontario government about the same thing, removing the PST completely.
You know, it seems like an easy enough solution
It
for
should
them
be.
on this,
It
right?
seems like an easy one, but we'll see.
What are some other things that the government can be working on in terms of, again, making attainable home ownership?
Yeah, so the other thing that I've been really lobbying for locally and with our Ontario counterparts is some low-cost financing for construction.
Yeah.
I look at it as a win-win. Like, they can lend us money at 2% interest instead of us having to go and get a construction mortgage for 6 or 8%,
Yeah.
right? When you're talking about a $15 million project, that's a lot of money, right, that we're
Yeah.
paying out in interest costs.
Yeah.
And so if we're able to keep down the cost of construction, then we're able to approve families that qualify for lower mortgages.
Yeah.
Because what we need to do is make sure that we get the cost of construction covered with their mortgage or with our fundraising.
Yeah. Now, the cost of construction must be something that's very difficult to figure out and plan for right now, right? Like, how are you dealing with all these fluctuations in the market?
Yeah, well, the first project that we built was during the pandemic,
Yeah.
right? So that's a really good example, right? We were in the ground in August of 2020.
Yeah.
But the way that we dealt with it, we have, lots of suppliers that would call us and say, the price of OSB sheeting's going up at the end of the month by $10 or $15 a sheet.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy it now? Okay, well, we had to deal with how we're going to pay for it now, but
Yeah.
there's no place to put it, right? The sheeting for a 41-unit condo is a lot of sheeting. But they'd say, no, we'll store it for you. We just want you to get in before the price goes up. And so we had that happen multiple times on that project, and it still continues to happen. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to deal with that.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure it's challenging trying to plan out
it
what the
is.
financing you're going to need for a project that's, a year or two. What kind of projects do you have in the works right now?
So we have another 41-unit project on Lansdowne Street in Peterborough. It's a 5-story, so it's a smaller footprint.
Yep.
We also are in the final stages of purchasing some land just outside of Halliburton for a 35-unit project.
Nice.
And then we have 2 smaller projects, a 3D printed home in Fraserville, so a single-family home.
Okay.
An individual donated the land to us, or else we wouldn't have been able to afford that $300,000 that land is worth. And then we're also building a semi-detached home on Sophia Street in partnership with our daughter's home.
Okay.
So
Nice.
those are some smaller projects,
Yeah.
but those are all things that we're working on currently.
Yeah, well, and they might be smaller projects, but they have a big impact for
huge
everybody who's getting
impact.
in,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So now there's been a notable decline over the years in both volunteerism and charitable donations. There's been a lot of different changing trends within the industry, which has been a challenge for all of our local charities.
Yes.
And how has that been affecting what you're doing, and what are you working on with that?
Yeah, so with respect to donations, we always need donations. But what we're trying to do with our new mortgage model, where our homeowners get a first mortgage from the Kawartha Credit Union, is to reduce our reliance on fundraising to build our homes.
Yeah.
Fundraising helps us to approve families with lower incomes,
Yeah.
but the projects themselves are mostly covered by the homeowner's mortgage.
Yeah.
And so that is the one main thing that we've done to deal with the donations. Volunteerism, so because we're doing multi-unit projects, we don't have volunteers on the build site,
Okay.
or very few on the build
Not
site.
like the old ones were.
Not
Yeah.
wall raising and putting the roof on,
Yeah.
which is how I got involved with Habitat and what I love about it.
Yeah.
But there's just too much risk, and takes too long. We were able to save $820,000 on our first project because we didn't build with volunteers.
Yeah.
Tarion said, we'll waive the fee that you have to pay to us if you're
Yeah.
building with all professionals. So, but what we have been doing is we rely on volunteers in our restores.
Yep.
And so they're critical for the success there. Even though our restores sell donated product, there's still lots of costs, right? We're renting our space and we have overhead costs, you know,
Yeah.
even just the cost of sales, the cost of dumping, you know,
Yeah.
getting rid of our waste because people dump things at our door on the weekend and they get wet over the weekend and we have to get rid of them. Those are the sort of things that by having volunteers, it helps us to, you know, move our money to pay for the waste as opposed to necessarily paying for more staff.
Yeah. But the restores help offset a lot of your own internal costs, right?
They cover all of our costs, all of our overhead, and then there is usually money on top of that then goes back into the build projects.
All right, all the
Yeah.
more reason to go shop at the restore.
Exactly.
So just wrapping up, maybe let's just talk about the economic impact of one, home ownership and the role that you've played. I mean, you are one of the largest home builders in Peterborough right now.
Well, what I think the big difference with what we're doing is our homeowners are homeowners.
Yeah.
And so they're paying property tax. They're paying the same property tax at the same rate as any other homeowner.
Yeah.
So they're investing money back into the community.
Yeah.
But also many of them, you know, their mortgage is less in some cases than what they were paying in rent.
Yeah.
And so plus it's also determined, you know, it's a set rate for the next 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
so they can plan. So families are putting their kids into music lessons and sports. Sometimes the homeowners are going back to school,
Yeah.
right? So that's one of the ways that it's really helping in our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Susan, and really appreciate the work that you and your team at Habitat are doing here in our community.
Thanks, Joel.